I noticed someone gradually moving their patio furniture closer to my yard, treating it like an extension of their own. When I politely mentioned it, they scoffed, "Oh, it's just a few chairs. No big deal." So I waited until they went out and moved the furniture onto the sidewalk. That evening, they panicked, "Where's our stuff?" I shrugged, "Oh, it's just a few chairs. No big deal." I'm a woman living in Springfield, Illinois. Quiet neighborhood. Mostly older couples, some families. I've lived in the same house for over 12 years. Paid it off. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. I keep it clean, take care of the yard, grow some flowers and tomatoes. I like my privacy and I mind my own business. A year ago, new people moved into the house right next to mine. Not a rental, bought it. That matters here. Mark and Lisa, married couple, early 30s maybe. They seemed nice enough at first. Smiled, waved, the usual. I even brought them cookies when they moved in. I like to be a good neighbor. Not trying to be friends, but friendly. Everything was fine for the first few weeks. They had a small patio set up in their backyard. A table, a few chairs, an umbrella. You know, basic stuff. We share a chain link fence between our backyards. It's about waist high. Nothing fancy. Clearly marks the boundary. Then I noticed one of their chairs was right up against the fence. No big deal. A few days later, the whole table was closer. Then another chair. Then the umbrella. Over the span of a few weeks, they had moved their entire patio setup right up against my fence, and some of it actually crossed the line, clearly on my side. At first, I thought maybe they didn't realize. So I gave it time. Then I saw Lisa hanging out there. In one of the chairs that was 100% in my yard. Just chilling like it was normal. So I walked over and said, casually, "Hey Lisa, I think some of your patio furniture's ended up in my yard." She barely looked up from her phone and said, "Oh, it's just a few chairs." No big deal. Okay. That's when I knew this wasn't going to be easy. I didn't want to argue. So I said, "Well, it's my property, so I'd appreciate if you could move them back to your side." She gave me a look. You know the kind. Like I was being difficult. Like I was the problem. "Sure," she said. "I'll talk to Mark." Spoiler, nothing happened. A week went by. Then 2. The furniture didn't move. In fact, they started adding more stuff. A little cooler. A side table. One of those stupid little solar lights stuck into the ground on my side. I caught Mark out there once. Same tone. "We're just trying to enjoy the space," he said. "It's not like we're doing anything wrong." I reminded him, nicely, that it was my property. He shrugged and said, "It's just a couple feet." Okay, now I'm pissed. I didn't want to escalate this. But clearly, they weren't going to stop. So I started taking photos. Every day. Same time. Just to show how their stuff was creeping more and more into my yard. I printed the property lines from the assessor's office. I highlighted the fence. I got everything lined up. Still, I said nothing for a while. I waited. I watched them throw little barbecues, host friends, drink beers, while literally sitting in furniture that was now sitting on my grass. Not theirs. Mine. I could see the leg of their umbrella sticking out over my tomato plants. They knew. Oh, they knew. So one Saturday afternoon, I saw them pack up and leave. Probably headed to a farmer's market or brewery. That's their thing. So I called my brother. He's the only person I trust to not ask a million questions. He came over with his truck, and we moved every single piece of their patio furniture. Not back into their yard. Onto the sidewalk in front of their house. Table, chairs, umbrella, cooler, everything. Right by the curb. Out of the way of pedestrians. Just there. Then we went inside and watched TV. Around 6 p.m., I hear a commotion outside. Voices. High-pitched confusion. Lisa screaming, "Where's our stuff?" I waited. A knock came to my door. I opened it. Mark and Lisa were standing there. Lisa looked furious. Mark had that tight-lipped guy face. Trying to look calm but failing. Lisa says, "Did you move our patio set?" I looked at her. I looked at Mark. I said, "Oh, it's just a few chairs. No big deal." Dead silence. She says, "You had no right." I cut her off. "I asked you nicely. More than once. You ignored me. You acted like it didn't matter. So I treated it like it didn't matter either." Mark tried to speak, but I stepped back and said, "If you want to talk boundaries, I have photos and property maps ready to go. Otherwise, I suggest you enjoy your furniture from your own yard, not mine." I shut the door. They didn't say a word. Next day, the furniture was gone from the sidewalk. Back in their yard, but this time, far from the fence. Maybe they were embarrassed. Maybe they were just stunned someone actually called their bluff. But then the weird stuff started. A tall wooden fence showed up. Like overnight. 8 feet high. Right along our property line. On their side, but ugly as hell. Totally blocked the view. Ruined the light in that part of my yard. And that's where I'll pause this. Because it's not over. It got weirder. And pettier. And nastier. I didn't start it. But I'm damn sure going to finish it. So yeah, after the whole sidewalk furniture move, I figured that was that. Wrong. The tall wooden fence went up within a week. 8 feet high. Ugly brown panels. Screwed in tight. Right along our shared property line. It was clearly meant to be a message. Thing is, I wasn't mad about the fence. Not really. Honestly, I was glad to have some privacy again. But the way it showed up overnight without warning screamed spite. It didn't match any other fence on the street. Everyone else here has chain link or those low picket types. This thing looked like a damn fortress wall. I didn't say a word. I just watered my tomatoes and minded my business. But that fence? It was just the beginning. A few days after it went up, I started noticing shadows through the slats. Movement. One day I caught Lisa straight up peeking through a knothole. Like some kind of reverse peeping Tom. I stared right back until she backed away. Fine. Be creepy. I don't care. Then the noise started. Every morning, around 6:45 a.m., right when I let my dog out, they'd blast music. Not just any music. Country rap. Real loud. Every single morning. Same 3 songs like they had them on a loop. Speakers were hidden somewhere behind the fence. I knew it was on purpose. That time of morning? That specific genre? It was too obvious. Still, I didn't react. Instead, I went out and bought myself some industrial-grade noise-canceling earbuds. Wore them with a smile while gardening. Watered my plants like I was in a spa. I know it made them mad that I wouldn't rise to it. But that wasn't the twist. Not yet. The twist came when I got a notice from the city taped to my front door. It was about unauthorized landscaping. Huh? Turns out, someone had submitted a complaint saying I had extended my garden beyond acceptable property boundaries. The complaint claimed I had installed a raised bed partially on my neighbor's land. Total lie. I double-checked my survey. My tomatoes were exactly where they'd always been. The bed was within my line, just like the last 3 summers. But someone wanted to stir things up. I called the city, had an inspector come out. He confirmed everything was fine. Case closed. But I knew who made the complaint. Who else would it be? 2 days later, I walked out and saw they had put up a sign. Not a regular one. A big one. In their backyard but facing my yard. It read, "Private property, do not trespass," under surveillance in bold red letters. It wasn't even subtle anymore. I stared at it for a good minute. Then I went back inside, pulled out a folding chair, and sat facing the sign with a cup of coffee. Didn't move for half an hour. Just sipped and stared. No reaction. But I knew they saw me. That weekend, things escalated. I was out back trimming the hedges when Mark came out. For once, he actually spoke first. "You know, you've got a real attitude problem," he said. I blinked. "Excuse me?" He took a step closer to the fence. "We were being neighborly. You made it a war." I almost laughed. "You moved your patio into my yard." I asked nicely. "You ignored me." "I moved it out of my yard." "That's not a war. That's called cause and effect." Lisa came out too. Crossed her arms. Said something under her breath. I looked right at her. "Say it louder." "We're being honest today." She glared. "You've made this whole street uncomfortable." I raised an eyebrow. "Funny. Everyone else seems fine. Maybe it's just you. Mark muttered something about calling a lawyer. I welcomed it. I had everything documented. Photos, survey maps, timestamps, emails to the city. They didn't scare me. They annoyed me. But then, plot twist, I noticed something new. A few days later, a small camera showed up, mounted on the top corner of their new fence. It faced my backyard. I saw the little red light blinking. They were actually filming my yard. That's when it stopped being petty and started getting serious. I didn't touch it. I didn't go over. I didn't even call them out. Instead, I called the police non-emergency line and reported surveillance equipment pointed at private property. An officer came out, took a look, and agreed it was uncomfortable and possibly a privacy violation. They had to move the camera. You'd think that'd be the end. It wasn't. Because the next week, they started throwing trash over the fence. Tiny stuff at first: cigarette butts, bottle caps, candy wrappers. Just little things you might not even notice. But I noticed, and I kept collecting it. In a big clear Ziploc bag. Let's just say I'm building a case. I don't know what their endgame is, but I know mine. I'm going to make sure they regret ever thinking they could treat my yard like it was theirs. I haven't hit back yet, but I will. And it's going to be loud. So by now, if you've read parts 1 and 2, you know the basics. New neighbors moved in. Slowly took over my yard with their patio furniture. I asked nicely, they ignored me, so I moved all their furniture onto the sidewalk. Ever since, they've been on a revenge tour that's gone from blasting music to fake city complaints to cameras pointed at my backyard. After the cops made them remove the camera, I thought, okay, maybe that finally taught them to back off. Wrong again. 2 weeks later, I'm heading out to get my mail. Just a normal day, until I see a weird envelope in my box. No return address. Just my name, scrawled messily. Inside? A typed letter. No salutation, no name at the bottom. Just, you've made this neighborhood tense. People are watching. Stop causing trouble or you'll regret it. You're not welcome here. I read it twice. It didn't scare me. It just made me mad. Thing is, the mailbox is federal property. Messing with someone's mail is a crime. And suddenly I remembered something I noticed a few days before. Lisa had been chatting with our mail carrier. Laughing, leaning over their side gate. Nothing weird at the time, but now I had a gut feeling. I didn't accuse her. I didn't say anything. I filed a report with the post office instead. Gave them the envelope. They took it seriously. But that's not even the twist. The next week, I started getting mail with my name, but their address. Packages too. Stuff I never ordered. Catalogs. Flyers. A pizza delivery guy even knocked on my door one night asking for Sarah with an order I never made. Someone was forwarding my info to their house. Petty and stupid. But what if they were planning to use it for something worse? I checked my credit. I froze it. Called the companies on the packages. One of them admitted the shipping address was changed a few days ago, manually. I confronted Mark. I was done being subtle. Are you giving out my information? I asked, standing on the sidewalk while he pretended to be doing yard work. He acted surprised. Why would I care where your mail goes? Good question. So stop messing with it. I've filed reports. If it keeps happening, the next step is legal. He just walked inside. And that brings us to the trash can incident. One morning I go out and my garbage bin is missing. Not tipped over. Not moved. Gone. I checked up and down the block. Nothing. Later that night, guess what I saw? My bin. Spray painted over. Sitting on their side yard. Painted black. Same shape. Same lid. Same worn while I duct taped last summer. I walked right over and took it back. Mark comes outside, all smug. Can't prove that's yours. I flipped it over and showed the serial number I had carved into the bottom months ago. Why? Because people steal bins during move-out season here. He stared at it. I said, now I can. He didn't say a word. But again, it wasn't over. Here's where it starts to really twist. A neighbor 2 houses down, Mrs. Redfield, older woman, real sweet, stopped me during my morning walk. She says, "I heard you're suing Mark and Lisa?" I stopped cold. What? She nods. That's what they've been telling people. Said you're trying to take their property. I almost laughed. I haven't sued anyone. Not yet. But now I knew they were planting stories. Sure enough, over the next week, a few more neighbors started acting strange. Less friendly. Cold. One guy who used to wave every morning now won't look me in the eye. I'm being socially iced out in my own neighborhood. So what did I do? I started inviting people over. Old coworkers, cousins, friends, people from my book club. I threw a little weekend brunch in my yard. Made it a thing. Laughter, music, nice music, mimosas. Just people having a good time on my side of the fence. And I said loud enough, when someone asked about the neighbor situation, "Oh, them? I'm just documenting everything." Let the truth speak for itself. Let them wonder what I meant by that. Because here's the part they don't know. My niece is in law school. And she's obsessed with neighbor dispute cases. She's already walking me through how to file a civil complaint if I want to escalate. And I might. But first, I have one more move to make. Because a little bird told me Lisa might be operating an unlicensed home decor resale shop out of her garage. No signs, no permits, no tax filings. And someone even said they bought a mirror from her that looked a lot like one I had on my porch last summer, which went missing. Coincidence? We'll see. If they thought I was the quiet type who'd just roll over, they picked the wrong neighbor. I didn't think it would come to this. But when people keep pushing and pushing, you either get crushed or you push back harder. And I did. So, last I told you, Lisa and Mark had been spreading lies, messing with my mail, stealing my trash bin, throwing trash into my yard, blasting music, putting up creepy cameras, and telling neighbors I was suing them, which I wasn't yet. Oh, and possibly running an illegal little garage shop full of stolen home decor. That's where things got serious. Because remember that mirror that went missing from my porch last summer? Big one. Wooden frame. My mom gave it to me before she passed. Not expensive, but sentimental. Gone. I figured someone stole it. Well, my coworker Amy, sweetheart, nosy, retired, saw Lisa's garage store on Facebook Marketplace. Sent me the listing. It was my mirror. No doubt. Same crack in the frame. Same faint paint stain on the side from when I accidentally dropped a roller on it. It was mine. Lisa was trying to sell it. For $35. I lost it. But instead of going off, I played it smart. I messaged the listing. Asked if it was still available. Said I was interested. Gave her a fake name. Used a burner Facebook account. I even said I'd pick it up. She replied fast. Super friendly. Said, "Yep. Just swing by anytime today. Garage will be open." Perfect. So I called the cops. I told them I'd found property of mine being sold. Gave them proof, the photo, the old picture of it on my porch, the time-stamped Facebook listing. Even had a neighbor confirm they remembered the mirror. The police showed up before I did. She tried to lie. Said she found it by the road. Said it looked abandoned. They didn't buy it. She had to hand it over. The cops gave her a warning. Told her if any more stolen goods showed up, she could be looking at real charges. Her garage boutique was done. But I wasn't. I posted the whole thing, calmly, on our neighborhood Facebook group. No name calling. Just facts. How my mirror was stolen. How it ended up in her garage. How the police got involved. You could hear the collective gasp from blocks away. Lisa and Mark lost it. They tried to post their own version, calling me spiteful and a troublemaker. But the neighbors weren't buying it anymore. Remember Mrs. Redfield? The sweet lady who asked if I was suing them? She posted under my story, "This explains a lot." I was wondering why they asked me to say I'd seen Sarah digging up their yard. I thought it was weird at the time. Busted. The whole neighborhood turned cold on them fast. No more waves. No more friendly chats. One guy even canceled his driveway repaving with Mark's cousin because he didn't want the drama. That should have been the end. But no. They had to go one step further. One morning, I woke up to a giant sign planted in my front yard. It said, "Liar lives here. Stolen property accuser" in red paint. Right in the grass. Tied down with stakes. That was it. I called my niece, the law student. I was done playing. We filed for a civil harassment restraining order. Submitted all the evidence. Photos. Dates. Statements from neighbors. The mail complaint. The sign. The camera. The trash. The false city report. The stolen mirror. All of it. We even had video of Mark trying to spray my hedge with something from a bottle a few nights before. The footage was grainy, but it was clearly him, wearing a hoodie and looking over his shoulder. Court date was set. And get this, on the day of the hearing, they didn't show up. The judge ruled in my favor. Restraining order granted. 200 feet. No contact. Mandatory removal of all visual barriers directed at my property, including that big "Do Not Trespass" sign. That ugly 8-foot fence? They were allowed to keep it, but the part with the camera mount had to be removed. It was deemed intimidating. But here's the cherry on top. The court also opened the door for property damage compensation. I sued them for the destroyed garden area, the trash cleanup, and emotional stress. Small claims court. I wasn't asking for much, just enough to make a point. I won $2,800. They had to pay or risk a lien on their house. Within 2 months, they put the house up for sale. No goodbye. No apology. Just a "for sale" sign and a sad little open house that nobody on the street visited. They moved out in silence. Now here's my final twist. I've made my share of mistakes too. I probably should have spoken up sooner. Maybe I could have handled it differently in the beginning. Maybe the sidewalk stunt was a little extreme. But when someone keeps walking all over you, eventually you stop being polite. Now, my yard is peaceful. The tomato plants are thriving. The neighbors actually talk to me more than ever. And that spot where they used to peek through the fence? I planted sunflowers there. Big, bold, yellow ones. And they grow tall.